Hey, what's good, PolarBearMike? It's F. here. How's it going? How's your summer? How are you reflecting after the finals from NBA?
Hey, what's up, F? I'm doing well. Little bit on sad mode until free agency hits, but that's how it is.
From one league to another. You are number one in your league, though. You guys have looked really, really strong after a questionable spring split. But we're done talking about spring. We're talking about summer, and y'all are crushing it. How good does it feel to be back on Cloud 9?
Uh, Feels better just to, like, be playing like the team that we feel like we should be. I mean, I think that our morale and like our team synergy and like getting along and everything has been much better in the summer, so it's been fun.
Yeah, it's been pretty obvious that you guys are having more fun. You guys are a team that I think you guys perform better when you're having fun. So certainly comes through in the gameplay. Coming up next is going to be Splice. You guys play them later on in the week. How are you feeling about this Splice team? They seem to have improved really quickly.
Yeah, actually, everybody. I mean, it's been covered, right? That they're in a team house for the
Yep.
summer, and everybody in the pro scene, kind of like behind the scenes, all the players and teams thought that they would perform a lot better, just because they're on such much, like they're on lower paying, and you can just work on problems so much easier when you're all together. So I've been pretty impressed with how much they've improved in just a couple weeks. I still think that. And I'm sure they tell you as well, I still think that they have a lot of work to do, and I still think that I expect to beat them. But they are definitely an improved team, and I think they've been looking really good. They took, a set off SSG. I think they 2-1 them, so yeah, they've been good.
Yeah, it's been fun watching them. But talking about you guys, a lot of focus has been on Scream over there in the jungle. He's done a great job so far. Who has been the standout player, if anybody, for you from your perspective?
I think everybody has played really well. I think I was actually saying to a few people, like on my own, that I've been most impressed with Benji or Assault because normally everyone thinks of him as like this tank player who just like holds W and is so fed you can't kill him. But he's actually shown like a ton of flexibility this split. He's been playing mages. He's played like Afro, Chunga. He's played Opwash randomly.
Yeah.
Like he's just been able to show that he has like a much bigger god pool than people would have expected, and I think Benja's been killing it.
You know what it is, and Benji's going to be mad at me for saying this, but he actually does think and care about the game. He likes to play that nonchalant.
Pretty smart, and he's pretty good, so we take that.
Yeah, he likes to play it off a little bit. You already said you expect to win against Splice. 2-0, 3-1. How you feeling? Or
2-0.
Easy. Nice answer. Love the confidence, PolarBearMike. Anyway, I'm going to let you go. Love catching up with you. Be good, man.
All right, cool. Thanks, man. Have a good one.
You too. Thanks, Tom. Great interview by Tom, by the way. Tom Baddinger here. This time joined by Graham, the best Hindu man, Hatfield.
Why the best?
So I've
Isn't Splice?
I routinely
Splice aren't playing today.
It's the oldest joke in Smite. And I made it to Ryan the other day, and he hated me for it. And I guess you get what you give. eUnited up on top there. They're playing today versus CLG.
Yeah, and CLG don't look great. I'm not going to lie, they're not in the position they expect them to be. It's a big stepping stone for them today against eUnited, the top of the shop. Problem is, Tom, is that they're not making land now.
See,
with how these are going. They're not going to make it, but it's about how they perform towards the end of the season.
Trifecta and Splice both improved in the spring split, and CLG stayed the same. I think that's the issue, is that CLG was a lukewarm average 5 out of 10 team in the spring split, and Splice and Trifecta were maybe a step behind, but Splice and Trifecta stepped it up, and Counterlogic Gaming seems to be bringing us the same old, which, Graham, Hindu, this is season 5, this is 2018, yep. Same old. Doesn't do it no more.
No, you've got to make some changes somewhere along the line. And the start of the season, they came out firing. They looked so good at the beginning of the season, where you're like, okay, they are considered a top team in North America, vying to come to the LAN, and now they're split, not the case.
And look at the roster. Homiefe, Hurriwind, fineokay after an arguable Rookie of the Year season, if we gave those out, coming here in his second season. I mean, Snoopy and Jigz, this is an all-star lineup.
We've been here long enough, though, Tom, that we realize that ability individually does not always transmute towards gameplay and success as a team, or even as an individual gods that are strong or weak, whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a difference. This roster just needs to go back to basics, work at what they're good at, and also look at the meta some more. I really felt that Spring Split, they came out of the blocks quick because they identified the meta, they adjusted to it. Things like the Vermont jungle working out. That sort of thing seemed to work, but then they just seemed to grind on that for a while and not really change.
I love where your head's at, because that's exactly where I was going to go. We've looked at Luminosity, or excuse me, Space Station Gaming, that Barra and Jeff unit, and as they traverse through different roster iterations, I always found them a step behind since Season 1 after winning the World Championship, because they simply followed the meta and they never led. You will never be a leader if you simply follow the meta. I'm not saying you have to go ahead and play Athena mid every game, but you have to be an innovator to a certain extent. When I watch Counterlogic Gaming these days, I see very good players going through the motions is probably the negative way to say it, but just sticking to safe meta is what I see. I want to see more of that flash, that flavor, that Vermont jungle. Do what you're good at, identify what's going to win, and don't just play the same stuff.
Sure, and I think the Vermont jungle is just a good talking point of like, hey, they brought that into the meta and it worked.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean we have to go back to it now. But today they're up against eUnited. And eUnited are top of the shop right now over in North America, having a very good time of things. Continued on from where they left off in spring. Masters, well, we can just, don't worry, they're still world champs for now.
Yeah, I mean, the conversation has been North America versus Europe, and, well, we'll get to expand that conversation as land gets closer and closer.
Funny story.
Shoot.
eUnited are going to be if they don't win Worlds, they're going to be the shortest world champions in history.
Right, because this year our World Championship is November 16th through the 18th. hi-rezexpo.com. Get your tickets today.
It's almost like we sell things for a living, don't we? Yes, we sell you on the Pro League every single day, me and Tom. And
no, I'm just
transverse. It's good.
I've been doing that bit pretty much for a long time.
But eUnited would be the shortest reigning world champions.
That's very true. And you know what? It was very interesting, Hindu, because coming into watching the entirety of the LAN excursion that is SWC, eUnited looked great and looked like they deserved to win the World Championship. Sure. Let me say something a little bit dangerous. That fall split into Super Regionals, I didn't see them as a world champion. And that spring split after the fact, I didn't see them as a world champion. And they didn't look like a world champion taking the split off either, which is what we've seen on Energy. They just look like a team that luck is not part of it, but it almost seemed like a fluke. Here in the summer, though, I'm seeing that eUnited, and I want to know what the difference is.
I think the difference is just focus on the game again. It was a little bit of not really catching up with the meta in spring and really focusing on it so much. Enjoy the highlight of being the best team in the world and get away with murder, still make LAN. At the end of the day, they still make LAN, so they're not that bad. But in summer, they've had to knuckle down a little bit more so. And big game for them here as well. They can't make a stumbling block out of CLG. As Mike said, 2-0 easy. Well, it hopefully is easy.
Picks and bans, game number 1 on the way. Like you said, really important game, and here's why. CLG, they are looking terribly if you look at the win-loss column. But if you look at them play the game, at the end of the day, this is still the 5 players that I rattled off angrily earlier on, asking where their wins are. These are still 5 players that can absolutely smack eUnited in the face. So this is a match that eUnited has to be careful of because it's a statement. CLG are coming out here trying to make a statement saying, look, we have no wins, or we have a few wins, but we're still the team. Watch out. And eUnited are saying, we're not falling into your trap.
Well, the main thing is that eUnited don't fall into the trap today as well. Knowing that CLG have been on the downtrend, not doing so well during spring and summer as the months have gone on, they can't just fall down here and just go, oh, it's CLG, don't worry about it. This isn't Randozos. This isn't Justice. This isn't, I'm not going to keep going, the Lememedons. Like, this is an actual team that has to play Smite, and they're a solid squad too, so you've got to respect that.
Anytime you bash on teams, they got to bash on Wolfie 2032. It's not Thirst.
That's true. That's true. His Hercules game was famous.
Always got to bash on Wolfie. On a serious note, Chernobog. I'm not bashing on that guy anytime soon. First pick overall. CLGG.
Is that because he's in the wall, or he's in the sky, or he's back in the wall again? Like, which one is it?
A little bit of both.
Yeah, thought so.
The global of Chernobog will be answered by the global of Athena, also Medusa. Very strong pick. Interesting to see her picked this early, but at the end of the day, I do got to say I like it. More globals with Janus.
Don't mind the Medusa at all, because obviously she's had a couple of buffs. Her Viper shot now goes to 4 stacks at the end, so it's a little bit bonus damage, which does count for quite a bit. Acid Spit as well, however, though, for wave clear is going to impact a little bit on Chernobog, because Chernobog has to get a little bit closer to get the crystallized shots off with his first ability for those at home. And because of that, the Acid Spit can play back into it. Plus, it's the Medusa Athena combo.
Yeah. Face me. Okay. Right. Sylvanus, the guardian of choice for CLG, likely to see that in the hands of Jigz. He's done very well on the Sylvanus, and honestly, Sylvanus players have sort of stepped up here in the past couple of weeks. Between Dardas and Jeff Hinla nailing these Sylvanus pulls, Sylvanus looks like a different character when you can reliably lean on that pull initiation. And if Jigz is there alongside the two players that I just mentioned, it's one of the better picks you can go. However, if you're not nailing that, the immobility of this character can be very punishing.
It can, but the one thing that a lot of people like about Sylvanus is lane clear early. Put that pressure on in the early stages and then transfer that throughout the game. You get your Hunter in a good position, then you move to the mid lane, and then you've got the sustain and the pulls. That's what the Sylvanus is getting picked more for, is just that early pressure.
CLG have struggled to find their victories, but they haven't been struggling to find a Homiefe playing well. This guy has been on the money, and so eUnited making sure not to enable him with two of his stronger selections, Susanoo or the Mercury. Nemesis is going to come through in the clutch, which I like this choice because Thors tend to build hybrid itemization, and so you're going to have 2.5 tanks, and instead of the straight assassin in the jungle, Nemesis is going to do well there. Also, extended channeled abilities do poorly against the shield. The Morrigan, the last pick.
I only got. Oh, that's the only one I'm really concerned about in the United roster here. Like, it's very much about mobility and big team fights. Thor, Athena, those globals to answer back Janus and Chernobog. That makes a lot of sense. Morrigan in the mid lane, low pressure in the early stages, transfers very well into the late game, where she can transfer into any of these gods. The Chernobog or the Janus now available for United. Still not a big fan though. I think it's a little bit suspect this in the mid lane. It's risky, but it's very rewarding. Morrigan, best god in the game. Always will be.
Really?
Yeah. You know why? She can turn into over 9 gods.
She's every other god.
Yeah.
Two mid-game monsters here. If I look at these two drafts, CLG can go late game with the Janus, and of course the Nemesis is going to do well. But across the way, I'm looking at Medusa to run that game during the mid-game, and then the Morrigan when it comes time to really bring the pain in the late game. Should I ask you for a prediction?
God, don't, because I would say on paper CLG on picks and bans, but eUnited because it's eUnited versus CLG.
Fine. You know what? What's the game changer for this draft?
Morrigan. It's all about the Morrigan this game. Can Venenu do well on this? Is he needed, first of all? If he's not needed, eUnited can put this to bed, but if he gets focused out and they need to turn to the Morrigan, he's not in a good position, could cause problems.
eUnited, CLG, game 1.
Thank you very much, guys. Aggro joined by Anatoly. And look, Toly, Chernobog, new god, first time in competitive play. If you can't get it, why not just take the Morrigan so you can have it too?
That makes sense. And knowing Venenu, he loves his hunters. He has such a flexible god pool.
Yeah.
I'm looking back at Season 4 Oxygen Supremacy, where he played literally 6 different gods in about 8 or 9 different games.
Right.
Very impressive stuff out of him. There's also Medusa that he could transform into. Double Petrify, another Athena potentially, another Thor. The options are just almost unlimited.
It's almost maybe overwhelming. It'll be hard to pick the right one at the perfect time. You only have 2 choices, unlike Venenu, who's got a lot more than that. Make sure you get your vote in the poll right now on who you think is going to win this game between CLG and eUnited. eUnited sitting on top of the standing, CLG in 5th place. So basically a must-win for CounterLogic Gaming if they want to have any hope of making it to the Summer LAN as we get ready to go into game now between for game number 1 between these 2 squads. It'll actually be Athena solo. So I think the general populace probably would have thought Cerberus would be over there in the solo lane. Can you think of a particular reason why Benji wanted the Athena instead?
Ghastly Breath getting interrupted by Tail Whip. It's not worth having into. That's basically the cookie cutter reason. Now, obviously, global pressure from your solo lane helps the Gold Fury fights where fineokay doesn't have that same luxury.
Sure, fineokay is going to have to walk on over, or waddle kind of, as a Sobek, or could use a teleport as well. Benji still picked up the teleport despite having that global possibility, as Hurriwind is going to lose the poke trade here to Venenu in that mid lane. Dark Omen's so good at making sure that poke trade goes in the Morrigan's favor. We haven't seen a lot of the Morrigan, and when we have, it's been a really cooldown-oriented build, but Venenu's going for a different route here. This boots to Lost Artifact start. It's kind of, it's popping up everywhere these days, totally, but I think it's great on certain gods. I did some testing with it this weekend and came around on it on gods like Zeus and Discordia that don't use a lot of mana early and can really utilize Rod of Tahuti early on. but I imagine Venenu is going to want to go Chronos Pendant, and I don't know if it's worth it skipping it in that sense.
You and Zeus in the same sentence, I'm not surprised.
I got an excuse to play some Zeus, and I'm like, all right, if I have to, like, you got to pull my arm about it, but
might as well try Zeus. But this makes a lot of sense because obviously you can't do your normal Blessing build with Boots 2. 900 gold, and then you have to worry about the other remainder portion of it. So you get the Lost Artifact for still a little bit more power, 20 extra power, 5 MP5. Not a bad idea, especially when you only have to go back to your base to spend another 600 gold to finish your Shoes of Focus.
I think that's the big deal, is that you get to back and finish your boots before the first buff respawn and get an opportunity to really impact those fights. As PandaCat making an impact on this left side alongside PolarBearMike, forcing Jigz and Snoopy back. A bit surprising, considering how good the wave clear is between Chernobog and Sylvanus in the early game, but Medusa's right there, as is Cerberus. There's a high clear duo lane on both sides.
Definitely is. And knowing Snoopy, he's been experimenting a lot recently, specifically with the Amusin Cob, where he'll go for an ability-based damage build with Mage's Blessing, with the Soul Eater. Pairing that up with Sylvanus would have gave a lot of pressure for CLG, but with the recent addition to Chernobog, it kind of eliminates the lane pressure mechanic. They're actually getting bullied out. Snoopy not able to connect with a wall.
Also forced out that sprint from Jigz. Venenu's lurking on this left-hand side, and this is where that power spike of having his boots completed can help him out. He's going to waltz into the enemy red buff, try and steal it away, and I think he was successful there. Cheeky little Dark Omen gets the job done for Venenu, and then has the movement speed to get away. Not saying he wouldn't have anyways, but love that play from Hurriwind. Portals in, Homiefe right on top of Venenu. Then has to use the Purification Beads, uses the stealth from that confusion nicely to get himself out of danger, but I love the way that CLG played that. Hurry provides a portal to Homie to cut off the escape route, while Hurriwind himself pushes forward to make sure Ven can't step up.
Did force the beats, still alive as Venenu, but the question remains is how can CLG punish that aggression? They did lose the red buff, but this opens a first blood opportunity. But Venenu is about to hit level 5 very soon, just now off of that wave with the addition of that red buff experience that he's stolen. So that combined, even though he doesn't have beads, he can transform into something that might have CC immunity and get himself another escape card.
Oh, Hurriwind was in trouble until Scream realized he was out of mana. Couldn't really teleport forward and get the job done. Berserker Barrage, a fairly mana-taxing ability.
Even though he didn't have really mana for the Berserker Barrage, getting another 2 basic attacks in, or maybe forcing self-ground portal out of Hurriwind could allow more follow-up from Venenu. I'm surprised he doesn't commit just for the basic attacks.
Fair enough. Probably wasn't exactly sure on what Homie was, and without the mana to use your ultimate after that, if you teleport in and Homie shows up with a Divine Judgment, Scream probably gets cut down for first blood. So playing it a little bit safe so far, as we're still scoreless in the kill department. This Medusa pick in the duo lane, the Medusa went from not really seeing a lot of play, very sporadic play, I think is the best way to put it, to now first pick for eUnited. I mean, is it the extra Viper shot? Is it the smooth new ability icons? Like, why do we see it so much now?
Well, competitively, Medusa is always causing a lot of problems because of the passive, right?
Sure.
Normal movement speed going side to side, half movement speed going backwards, allows you to juke out a lot of abilities. And that's the way Smite is played, about hitting your abilities. You're putting more pressure on the opponents because of that little differential. Extra Viper shot is all fine and dandy, but people remember it's like, oh yeah, this just feels more fluid. So PandaCat, remembering that, wants it early in the draft. But it surprises me that it's that early in the draft, considering Chernobog was already picked at first pick.
Oh, Hurriwind this time gets teleported on because Venenu is lurking for him, and Benji's going to find it, but Homie answers back onto Scream 1-for-1. Believe first blood goes eUnited's way, though, just based on the ordering of the portraits on the top right. Ven in a ton of trouble. He's going to get plucked back. Remember, no beads for him, and no way he gets away from that one. fineokay answers back a 2-for-1 in CLG's favor, but eUnited claimed the first blood bounty.
Tried to make something happen, and that was a good turnaround play from Hurriwind. Normally a lot of Januses will look to ulti defensively, but he thought he was absolutely safe as he kind of he does a 180, hits Scream actually, and he's able to just be able to help find a return kill, and then a great rotation from fineokay, setting up an additional kill onto Venenu. So 2-for-1, Hurriwind is Screaming worth all the way home.
Scream doesn't get his ultimate off there, teleports forward, gets some points off of the Berserker's Barrage, It looks like he's actually leveling that ability to me. Hurriwind takes a good chunk of damage from PolarBearMike's Ghastly Breath. Yeah, Scream is actually splitting the difference, 1 apiece thus far. The general rule of thumb, at least as far as I've always understood it, is if you feel like you can get 3 to 4 ticks off of Berserker's Barrage consistently, it's usually better to level that ability because you aren't using your escape. But the Mjolnir's Attunement does more damage in the burst damage category, but is a little bit riskier.
There's a lot of things to consider because Berserker Barrage is a lot easier to counter if you're Nemesis. Hold that thought though, PBM wanting to be aggressive, forcing the beats from Snoopy. But on the opposite side of the map, Benji, his dash gets intercepted.
Oh, but Scream's taking to the sky. This could be a double dunk here. No, he only gets 1. Gonna teleport forward looking for Homie. Benji still alive? What? How didn't that kill him? Finally, fineokay gets the kill with the Sickening Strike. And now Scream gets plucked back in by Jigz, and he'll take that one for himself. Well earned for CLG on the right side of the map.
Scream needed to hit both members with the Anvil of Dawn, to hit both members with a Tectonic Rift. He misses the important Homiefe target, and that allows the Nemesis to catch Benji's Athena. Great counter rotation from Hurriwind and Jigz, saving the life of Homie, and then the pull, ensuring a second victim as Scream dies, and CLG are in a great start to this game, 4-1.
Look, CLG does not have a great record thus far. Still in 5th place, 2-5 so far in the summer split. But don't let that fool you about the level of play individually for some of these players. Hurriwind has had incredible individual performances. Jigz on this Sylvanus has really been awfully impressive so far during the summer split. He's looked great for the most part.
It was ever since their Week 3 performance against Luminosity Gaming, where Hurriwind playing the Janus, playing the Thor, popped off. It was CLG even camping the fountain of LG. That's how confident they were. And ever since then, they just look like a new revitalized teams. They did fall victim to Trifecta and Space Station Gaming in week number 4, getting a little bit of a reality check. But you're absolutely right, Aggro. Their ability on the individual level is almost unmatched at their highest peaks. If you were to compare player by player at their highest ceilings, you could definitely make an argument for a lot of CLG members, but the problem is they need to find some more cohesion and leadership to close out some of their games.
Yeah, I think that you probably hear us talk a lot about how CLG is underperforming, not bringing what we thought they would to the table. And if you're new to the Smite Pro League or maybe just not familiar with the North American scene, it's because all of these players have been considered top of their roles or very close to it at points in their career, but haven't really done so yet. And when you hear CLG talk about their own struggles, they often bring up lack of understanding the meta as a big reason why. Hold that thought. Snoopy on the run as Scream is up in the sky, but Snoopy's got one of his own to get up there. He's going to come right back down just to give himself a little bit of safety. Benji has made his way over thanks to Defender of Olympus, but Jigz kind of left alone now. He's going to have to retreat after using that Wrath of Terra.
Forcing everyone back from CLG. United with a lot of map pressure if they really want to use it. Benji in the mid lane alongside fineokay, casually walking their way back in the solo lane, kind of holding hands together through the jungle, just smacking each other around. And CLG still can look for some aggression, though. They got the damage they need with Homiefe right around this corner.
Homie has that ultimate and was useful in cutting down Benji before. Benji's in a slightly better spot this time, but Hurry finds the solo kill onto Ven, using that through space and time. Right on top of a ward is where Venenu was, and no beads or ultimate is really going to help you in that spot. Hurriwind with a big individual play. But again, that's no surprise. And going back to what I was saying was, CLG, when talking about their struggles, have often cited, well, we got off to a great start in the spring split, but then we didn't really understand the meta after that. So that's why we fell off. And we had a bad start to the summer split because we weren't really understanding what we should be prioritizing and how we should be playing the map. So they seem to be a little bit slow to the changes at times, but once they get there, they're in a great spot.
They feel confident every time, and just goes to show Hurriwind the cerebral assassin mindset. A lot of mid laners don't make that play because if you miss your ultimate, you don't get the damage off. The follow-up Unstable Vortex doesn't get the kill, and now you're left without an ultimate for the escape. But Hurriwind, so confident in his own abilities, and the risk assessment was in his favor, considering Venenu was already a little low from previous when Jigz hit him with the Wrath of Terror during that whole red buff debacle.
Ends up working out nicely for CLG, who's up 5-1 in the kill department, but gold? Nothing. XP? Nothing. eUnited is staying very, very even despite the 4-kill deficit. Scream's invaded a couple buffs on this right-hand side, has stripped away the blue at least once from fineokay, and Oracle Vision has been consistently in eUnited's favor, and I guess that's where the difference is coming from.
A little bit of also Benji being able to out-farm his opposition, about a 200 gold differential there. Not too much to write home about, but that's one differential favoring out eUnited, despite not having the kill counter. Their ability to min-max some of the farm is important, and it's mostly global pressure. Athena out net worthing fineokay. Same could be said about Scream.
PolarBearMike gonna go in, uses his own ultimate to immune that Wrath of Terra. Jigz gets the kill, but immediately Jigz will fall in response. Hurriwind in trouble on the backside. He'll be a victim of Venenu as eUnited claim 2 kills quickly in their favor, 2 for 1. And purple buff, I believe, goes their way, though Snoopy made a nice attempt.
The double Athena ultimate, Venenu transforming into Benji, being able to make its impact felt. 5-on-3 advantage, forces the Gold Fury. Snoopy going to ultimate, nice stun coming through. eUnited securing it.
Oh no, and Snoopy now is in a terrible spot. He'll fall to Benji. Homiefe likely to be next. Indeed, he will. Venenu claims another life. 2-2-2 so far. Scream purification beads will allow him to use the hammer toss. fineokay looks to continue the chase, but that will be snubbed out as the peel's good enough to get Scream out of danger and secure eUnited's red buff all at once. So a 3-for-1 and the Gold Fury in total right around 12 minutes. eUnited take the first slight lead of the game.
And this is how eUnited has been so dominant in the performance thus far. After their first loss to Space Station Gaming, I thought to myself, like, oh no, is this going to be another slow start for eUnited into a quick finish? No, they've instantly turned that on its head, have not lost a set since that week number 1 performance. And it's their ability to keep themselves in the game until they see an opening. There was just one member a little bit too out of position. Jigz tried to go onto PBM, and their overcommitment from CLG onto the support opened the counter engagement for eUnited.
Snoopy in some trouble. One more auto, I think, would have let PandaCat unleash that Petrify, but he didn't even have it, so wouldn't have mattered either way. But you can already see that potency that Medusa brings to the 1v1 fights. Easy poke there onto Snoopy. Even with a big attack speed steroid, couldn't make it work.
Stun onto Homie. No possible life. The counter engage from Hurry actually chunks out a lot of life from Scream, and a great rotation from Jigz. Wrath of Terra is all that's needed.
Oh, but Jigz may have stepped up a little bit too much. Takes a good chunk of damage, but still had wisps available and will escape because of them. Venenu looking to push forward, but PandaCat still taking this boxing trade up against Snoopy. Snoopy gonna reset his cooldowns by using that Living Nightmare. Big Petrify. B's gonna buy Snoopy an extra life, and he'll take PandaCats with it. A nice solo kill there out of the Chernobog.
Snoopy calculating the damage. What he wanted to do was dash through the Medusa to prevent any sort of Petrify damage, but a little bit too slow on the draw there. Takes the damage. The
but
counter.
Here comes Ven to give him a taste of his own medicine. Snoopy, how you like these apples? One shadow on top of the other. One will exit, as will the other. Venenu with another kill for eUnited. Now 7-8, a little bit behind CLG still, but what you can do, I can do as well. Not just better, but the same.
Venenu. Wow.
Yeah.
Just always aware is how best to describe him. And that's what you have to be when you play the Morrigan. Last pick Morrigan, one of the staple selections for the Season 4 Worlds MVP. Outstanding stuff, being able to make an impact with the Athena and then teamfight, being able to clean up the 1v1, where Snoopy does get favored in that little 1v1 against PandaCat, but you always got to worry about the global pressure. You got a Thor, you got an Athena, and then you got Venenu that could transform into yourself.
Well, that's the perfect time. I mean, Snoopy was down a little bit in XP, still is at this point, to PandaCat. But the reason he gets that advantage in the 1v1 is not only that he gets all his cooldowns back from using that Living Nightmare, he also gets damage mitigation, movement speed, all of these things that are really important in those boxing 1v1 spots.
Mostly, it's the passive. Being able to hit the enemy hunter 3 times in a row, getting that about 15% extra damage on the basic attack, it adds up. And knowing how accurate these SPL hunters are, that damage is not to be forgotten about.
Snoopy certainly making use of the newest god available to these pro players in the SPL. Venenu getting a little taste of it as well, though Snoopy has not been able to make the biggest impact in this game yet. Still a little bit behind PandaCat in XP. Differences in builds, though. PandaCat going for the Executioner, whereas Snoopy likely going to finish off a Poison Star.
Not too bad of an idea to go for crit when you're not having to worry about any Thorns, not having to worry about hiding the Nemean Lions, as Benji goes for the hide of the Urchin. PandaCat in a 1v1 again. This time looks like he's going to win it.
That time, indeed, he will. Snoopy can't use that ultimate that time around. On the mid lane, though, Hurriwind has to use his Purification Beads. Ultimate is down for him as well. Looks like that was fired off a little bit more aggressively as Venenu putting on a show with some different hunters. This time, it's the Medusa, and this time he'll get another kill onto Jigz. Homie and fineokay now here, and that'll set up a kill onto Venenu. Nicely set up there by fineokay. But Benji with a big taunt knocks Homie down to about 1% HP. Though luckily for a CLG fan, he'll survive because he's got a beautiful blink on the other side. Scream gets himself caught out.
Good Aegis.
Could be punished for it.
Still trying to make it happen. Forces out the Aegis from Hurriwind. I like the mentality, but getting punished for it. The counter blink from Homiefe, that was anticipated. You can tell that these junglers are in their own head. Scream trying to be the predator, but he quickly ends up being the prey.
Impressive from both sides. Both junglers putting on a bit of a show, but Homie is the show stopper because Scream ends up falling. CLG now up at 10 kills in total, double digits for the CLG squad, but that lead still in eUnited's favor here, Tolly. CLG's getting kills, but not a whole lot else.
Definitely not. It's mostly due to that Gold Fury, or at least what set up the Gold Fury, where PBM sacrificed himself for 2. eUnited answer immediately after with a Gold Fury, and then a 2-for-0, making it ultimately a 4-for-1, putting themselves with a nice little lead. But CLG are the ones starting up the second Gold Fury of the game. They got the DPS for it.
Blink in from PBM, Defender of Olympus coming down, and here comes Benji. eUnited steal away the Gold Fury. PBM in some trouble, but he's still alive. fineokay will complete that chase if he has anything to say about it, but Benji is the one who gets the last laugh. Snoopy into the back line with that Living Nightmare, but not enough to bring down PandaCat. Finally, PBM falls. Petrify doesn't find a home for PandaCat, but a 1-for-0 for the Gold Fury. eUnited happy with that.
PBM yet again sacrificing himself. Similar story to about 6 minutes ago when the whole play opened up because PBM was the original target. PandaCat, he realized he was dead to rights. He needed to make some sort of offensive play. Did not come to fruition. CLG answering with a tier 1 tower and the kill on the enemy hunter.
Venenu in the mid lane, forced to use that changeling, and Petrified to slither away in the mid, and he will do just that. Homie lurking, though, has Blink available as the pings come out as CLG continues this chase, but good luck catching a Morrigan. That was a great, I love the idea there from CLG. I think they're pulling that Gold Fury because both Scream and Ven had no beads or Aegis, either a piece. So having 4 relics down among the 2 biggest damage dealers at that point in the game is a good idea, but Blink Defender of Olympus is hard to stop, and I don't think it was actually that got the stealing blow. I'm pretty sure PandaCat just came in there and spit on it and stole it away.
Very possible. We would have to like slow it down to about quarter speed to really see what the last hit was. But when you're dealing with Defender of Olympus, Anvil of Dawn, Venenu as well that can add on top of that, it's just too many global things to consider. The fact that CLG baited it out in the first place goes to show that they're very kill-centric focused. They trust themselves in the ability to win these team fights because of 2 reasons. Number 1, they have the sustain advantage with Jigz on Sylvanus, some self-sustain with fineokay, Sobek, Homiefe with the Nemesis shield. And then the second aspect is the mobility that they have. Janus Threshold, Janus Portals, give CLG the freedom to go in and out of the action.
And Chernobog Ultimate, the newest addition to that mobile squad that you can have. Kind of used to be the Apollo, which was the global ultimate hunter, but no longer all by himself. Blink forward from Homie, screams, hammers down, but has that ultimate available. Who cares? Hurriwind has his, and it knocks down Scream. Venenu forced to back up in the mid lane, but Snoopy's here. Welcome home. Snoopy gets a kill in the mid lane, and CLG now pushing it down mid.
Snoopy is saying daddy's home as Venenu gets taken out. It's a 5-on-3. CLG with the numbers advantage for at least another 25 seconds, waiting for Scream and Venenu to revive. They're posturing around the Fire Giant 21 minutes in with fineokay zoning. This seems plausible.
But PBM's here, and this is the exact same sort of setup that led itself to the Gold Fury steal before. Benji has Defender of Olympus, but PBM's not going to wait. He blinks in. Petrify! Not enough. CLG get the Fire Giant, and PBM will be the sacrificial lamb. PandaCat falls to Homie on the back as well, and Homie escapes.
Wow.
CLG get away with the objective and more.
That 1v2 from Homiefe being able to take out one and survive the other. Benji getting body blocked, trying to find the dash. Will finally escape currently, but the tier 2 tower, nope, not going to be looked at quite yet. CLG has a lot of gold in hand, a few low health members, even more lower on the mana department is Hurriwind. And this is why CLG can never be left unchecked. You give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
They're really using this mobile comp beautifully. I mean, that's how you draw it up in the mid lane there, right? Hurriwind crushes Scream with a through space in time. Ven gets away, but very low, so Snoopy comes in, cleans up that mess, and all of a sudden you've got a 5v3 with everyone grouped up at the same point. Why didn't we see eUnited utilize Defender of Olympus there as a way to try and steal that Fire Giant away? It works so well around the Gold Fury.
If the Defender of Olympus is used and they still don't steal the Fire Giant, they just lose more at the end of the day. At least
Sure.
PandaCat can use his Petrify safely from a distance while PBM is baiting himself out. The way PBM's been able to bait himself out this game gave eUnited the 2 Gold Furies. So I like the idea of using the dual lane from eUnited to try to go for that third objective secure. It didn't really work out that time around. They're still holding on to their Phoenixes, but if they lose the Athena, then tier 2 tower on the right probably falls right away, and maybe even a Phoenix.
Well, CLG is taking just about everything off the map right now. Only a tier 1 and tier 2 standing. As far as towers go, those are both on the solo side. CLG's not wasting much time quite yet. Gold Fury's about to spawn in about 12 seconds, and that felt to me like a, hey, are you ready? Okay, yeah, you're here to defend. That's fine. We'll back up, take Gold Fury, spend some of this gold, because the item difference isn't big yet. CLG and eUnited were so close up until this point that just a Fire Giant buff may not have been enough to push CLG way in the lead. Now that they can get a couple towers, get the gold in their favor, and actually spend it, this next siege opportunity could be much easier.
Before the Gold Fury, they're about 4.5 items versus 4. Now
Right.
they're going to be about 5 items versus 4 to give them that extra push over the edge to be able to get some of these Phoenixes at a more effective rate. They can even go for the tier 2 on the right if they really want to slow down the pacing, which wouldn't be in their worst interest considering that Fire Giant is only around their waist for another minute 20 seconds.
Right.
It's going to take forever for them to go down either mid or dual lane for that Phoenix. You're better off going for a guaranteed 2,000 gold and then setting yourself up for the next Fire Giant.
Agreed. I think I'm calling for tier 1 and tier 2 here if I'm on CLG, and this is a little bit risky, though, because there's only 2 members here. Jigz is floating around the mid lane. Hurriwind is on the left. And it looks like CLG's trying to split the focus of eUnited, but eUnited has a couple globals or semi-globals of their own. Venenu can provide portals for the entire team to get over to the left side if necessary. Scream has his Anvil of Dawn, and of course Defender of Olympus as well. So a bit risky, but CLG leaves the tier 2 standing.
They're going for it.
35 seconds on this Fire
They
Giant.
can try to go for the left side Phoenix, but it's Snoopy that's in the mid lane. Not going to be able to assist with some of the structure damage required. Nice counter pluck from fineokay. Not going to get caught with a taunt.
PBM's waiting to use that blink. All beads are up for CLG. Everyone's in a good spot now on Counter Logic Gaming as Hurriwind's looking for some poke on this left side.
Only 15 seconds on the Fire Giant buff, and CLG did not commit with that wave. And the next waves is not going to be much different. It'll be without the Fire Giant buff. And recognizing
Right.
this, CLG going to stop posturing around the dual lane. Needed to find that tier 2 tower on the right side. I think that was a little bit of
Yeah.
a lost opportunity.
Agreed. I think tier 2 on right is a little bit of a much safer call. I think eUnited honestly at least considers defending that tier 2 if they dilly-dally a little bit too long, and maybe eUnited's got the timer on Fire Giant, understand the buff's going to fall off, and maybe you can bait them into a fight at that spot. But leaving that up feels weird to me.
And this is what is preventing CLG from being an elite team, is their ability to make these kinds of calls and commit to it, because going all the way to the left side, looking at your opposition, be like, oh, okay, we can't really do anything. Let's just walk
Sure.
back. That's such a waste of time, and it's all about efficiency in the SPL.
It is, but at the same time, I respect their decision to not force it just because they're there already. Jigz' ultimate doesn't find a home. Through space and time clips PBM, but that's 2 ultimates down off of 1 Athena taunt. onto a tank that likely wasn't going to hurt fineokay much anyways.
5 ultimates for eUnited remain strong. CLG with only 3, and without your little transportation vehicle of Hurriwind through space and time, this allows eUnited to be on the offensive.
Scream in that front line, looking for a wall, can't find it. Benji, however, will find a taunt onto Jigz. Not a lot of follow-up there, basically just a hammer, and now the conversation is turned. Benji is plucked back in and ulted. Petrified, doesn't really find a home there as Venenu will turn into that Nemesis and cut down Jigz very quickly, trying to find an escape route along the left. Aegis won't save his life, I don't think. Indeed, it will not. As the rest of the team of eUnited was just kind of grouped up waiting for Snoopy. I was wondering what they were looking at, and it was the shadow in the wall all along.
Trying to find the Black God and has done so successfully. It's going to be a 4-on-3. Homie blinking into the backline. PBM very low. Unstable Vortex off the mark. Scream teleports to his hammer. Defender of Olympus coming on down.
But that third space and time from Hurriwind was just perfect. Hit 2, gave it escape route at the same time, and now CLG on the front foot once again. Homie's beads and shield gets the job done. Now he will fall, but Hurriwind and fineokay, the last 2 members standing for CLG. Alone Athena standing for eUnited. An absolute bloodbath as a 4-for-3 goes CLG's way.
But the later this game goes, it's going to allow eUnited to still hold strong and come back to that 6-item slot because they haven't lost any Phoenixes. They kept the second Fire Giant still intact, and there's no threat of losing any additional structures. And I still got to think that CLG's late game is a little bit better if all things even, but I just like eUnited's performance better, and I think that their ability to close out the game is superior than CLG. So if eUnited, for whatever reason, get an advantage with the Fire Giant, they're not dilly-dallying the same way CLG were previously.
No, I can totally see that. Plus, if eUnited were to get a Fire Giant or CLG at this point, it will be enhanced, meaning you get that extra power from it, better damage against the structures, just outright better buff now that it's been taken down once, and it's after 25 minutes. As I think the player to watch from here on out has got to be Hurriwind. I mean, he has turned so many fights in CLG's favor. He got off to a good start. He's 6-2-8, top of the player damage charts, which for all the, Janus is insane sort of posts and complaints or whatever, doing top damage as Janus is not an easy task to consistently do. You've got to worry about your utility so much that sometimes damage falls by the wayside. Not the case.
Good pull onto Benji. Does a little bit of damage with that unstable Vortex. Procking the Soul Reaver. Triple knockup from Jigz. Setting up Homie.
No! Scream gets flattened by Hurriwind in the most unfortunate thing that's happened to Scream so far today. Benji plucked back. fineokay receives a Nemesis ultimate from Venenu's transformation. But here comes the entirety of CLG, continuing the chase underneath this Tier 2 tower. Ven de-transforms exactly where he doesn't want to be. Portal forward for Jigz, the route into the pluck. This portal system from Hurriwind has been unstoppable. 3 dead. And what happened to Scream there, he hammers in to a blink Sylvanus ult, and then immediately gets crushed by through space and time.
So unfortunate. And with that, CLG, they're living and dying by Hurriwind's ultimates. That time around proving to be very fruitful, and they're going right for the throat.
PandaCat doesn't have that petrify, but still plenty of damage for the Hunter. In fact, he's forcing Hurriwind back for the moment. Jigz has to use that ultimate defensively as fineokay never gets lurking in the waters off. Scream respawns, and CLG is in shambles. A double dunk from Scream, walls off Snoopy, a double kill for PandaCat, and CLG, it all kind of falls apart very quickly on that Titan.
Hurriwind almost finding the kill onto the backing Scream. Didn't have the vision, and it's calls like that from CLG that leave their fans at home scratching their head like, why go for the end there? Scream was due to respawn very quickly. Snoopy actually takes the portal from Hurriwind, which delays the back. Venenu's on the chase.
eUnited uses the Janus ult themselves, but Hurriwind gave a portal to Jigz to get him out of range. Now it's eUnited though, with all the momentum. Hurriwind creeping forward. No way he's gonna have his ultimate in time, and he calls the dogs off. CLG now on the back foot for the moment. Now they do have that mid Phoenix down. Keep that in mind, but eUnited likely get a Phoenix of their own at the very least with this Fire Giant.
I was going to say, like, there's something to be said about small marginal plays that need to be calculated and going for the end. Remember how there was no tier 2 tower siege on the right side? That extra tier 2 tower gives more protections, more damage, more health to the enemy Titan. If CLG have removed that, maybe that's clearer. The final siege attempt becomes a little bit easier. Second thing to note was Snoopy taking the portal from Hurriwind to go into the middle lane. Why? You're not taking that Phoenix anyway. You're wasting the time for a potential beefy target to get in there to tank the tower for Snoopy to get in.
Well, now CLG don't look too deterred. In fact, they're the ones grouped as the death ball, trying to play around Hurriwind's ult again, but keep in mind, Hurry and Snoopy both without relics so far. No beads or agates for either one, and it's going to be quite some time. CLG setting up the trap, though. They were spotted earlier by one member of eUnited. eUnited looking pretty solid in the relic department, only waiting on PandaCat's Aegis as CLG decide to call it off.
I'd be worried if I was CLG to all be clumped up because Venenu can go into the Janus and hit all 5 members if he's accurate enough. And that could be really big trouble if CLG has to worry about the opposite portal sides.
Oh yeah, I mean, Hurricane been doing so much for their own side. I think that they're well aware of the potency of those Janus ults at this point in the game. But CLG with their grouping did put eUnited on the back foot a little bit. I think maybe eUnited had a backdoor potential in the back of their mind. That's why they respected that grouping so much. All backed up. Now their Fire Giant is only down to about 2 minutes left on the buff, so CLG buy themselves a little bit of time here on this defense.
fineokay on the right side of the map. This gives eUnited freedom to siege the tier 2 tower in mid lane cleanly. CLG don't want anything to do with that. Knowing eUnited, I don't expect them to go for the middle Phoenix. They're going to be very calculating about every little methodical thing, and this is the difference. eUnited taking the right tower, whereas CLG probably would not have done the same. And they didn't do the same when they had the Fire Giant.
Fairly similar positions, though. The late game, the enhanced Fire Giant buff, the full build, all of those certainly play in. Tier 2 tower will be knocked down, and that means that all CLG towers are in the ground, whereas eUnited still has that lone Tier 2 on the solo side of the map. Homie will meet up with the entirety of eUnited as they make their way towards mid lane.
Oh, trying to get the great Mad Guy's cloak pop from Benji. They didn't even going to commit there. That's not what their game plan was. But eUnited still taking the small steps necessary. With their middle Phoenix now revived, they don't have to worry about any more fire minions. And this is where they go for the first Phoenix siege from the Chaos side.
Now both relics for Hurriwind and Snoopy have come back up, so safety there for those two members, at least for a moment. Snoopy certainly in dash taunt range, but Benji not taking it quite yet because Jigz is there to help interrupt should that opportunity arise. fineokay's playing a little bit further back. It seems like he wants to try and disrupt Benji on the initiation as well, but Scream is going to be going in. Snoopy actually going into the Phoenix as Jigz isolated on the backside. Through space and time hits Snoopy as he gets a taste of his team's own medicine, but Hurriwind's dueling through space and time did some solid work as well. Scream gets his first kill of the game, and it's a good one right onto Hurriwind. eUnited take barely any damage at all. As you mentioned, Toli, you live by through space and time, you die by through space and time. That time Hurriwind didn't find a home, and as a result, eUnited looking healthy.
That was a great wall from Scream, cutting off the escape path. Hurriwind had nowhere to go. 5-on-3 now with no more Fire Giant, at least. eUnited still thinking about how they're going to approach this angle. Homiefe on the side, baiting out a little bit, trying to get back in.
Snoopy putting out some pot shots. Benji still nice and healthy, though. eUnited not trying to make the same mistake CLG did. They'll back up. Fire Giant did just fall off of eUnited not long ago, so certainly a contributing factor as to their retreat.
They got the middle Phoenix. They're going to be very content with getting the right side Phoenix. No worries whatsoever for the world defending champions being able to come back from this game. Very impressive stuff. Now, they were basically still in this game from the beginning, even though despite not having the kill counter, it was themselves baiting out PBM several times in the Gold Fury that gave them that Gold Fury advantage, but more importantly was how CLG kind of turned that on its head when Homiefe blinks onto Scream during that right side mid-harpy and Hurriwind hits that right side ultimate, opening the door for the Fire Giant. I'm still looking back. If CLG got that tier 2 right tower, if CLG just stopped wasting time, maybe that final push would have went their way.
Maybe. Unfortunately, no way for us to know, as now we're 36 minutes in and the game hangs in the balance, basically on the knife's edge. Either team in a position to win at this point. Slightly easier for United with the base already broken for CLG. Fire minions starting to push up already on CLG's side of the map, but it's CLG who has the positioning for the moment. Snoopy gets taunted. That's his purification beads, but Homie's going to blink in right away. Straight on to PandaCat. fineokay with the follow-up blink, but can't find the pluck. Panda is the focus as here comes through space and time, and you already know that one's going to hit. PandaCat falls to Hurriwind once again. Homie going to cut down PBM with the Nemesis as eUnited now on the retreat.
CLG, they find their 2 picks, but some fire minions are coming down their throne room. fineokay needs to go defend that. And without their Sobek, this 5-on-3 technically becomes a 4-on-3 in eUnited. They're not going to give this up willingly. Actually, they will.
Actually, they will. Indeed, they will, because throwing themselves away at that fire giant would have likely lost them the game. They'll take another stab at a Phoenix defense. And you imagine that CLG will pretty much just copy what eUnited did. Push up waves simultaneously, prioritize the wave that has the fire minions in it, and try and get that Phoenix once again.
They have several options, CLG, now, just to hold on a little bit longer. They definitely can't allow any sort of fire minion shenanigans flooding down their throne room, so this is high-end prioritization. Their next step should be stripping away that tier 2 tower on the right side. Not for the gold, obviously. They're all full build, full upgraded relics, but that Titan getting that extra health protections and power is unnecessary when you have a game-ending push scenario.
Certainly one of those right now. Nearing the 40-minute mark now. Everyone has been full build for quite some time. Supports have been level 20 for quite some time. We're in multiple power pot territory. No 3K pots in inventory, but certainly getting close, I imagine, for a lot of these players. Scream the closest right now with just under 2,000 gold in hand. Is CLG going to spend some of this time with the 38-minute fire giant doing gold fury?
I guess they're just waiting for their middle Phoenix to respawn before they feel confident enough to push some of these side lanes out.
But isn't this the time to go get tier 2 tower and right?
It definitely is. They have a minion wave right there. They could have still pushed down the mid lane to ignore some, or to help not have to worry about some fire minions and then transition to the right side, but instead they're splitting the differences and going for the middle and the left side, ignoring that tier 2 tower.
I mean, at this point of the game, the tier 2 tower, as you mentioned, the protections and that kind of stuff, not as relevant. I mean, you've got a really late game scenario.
It could be. You never know. There's so many small nuances that you want to prevent from having to worry about.
And it's gone in the blink of an eye if you just show up there. You don't even need a minion wave at this point. So it's almost odd to me that it hasn't fallen at this point. But that horse nearing its death, so we'll drop it for the moment. CLG doesn't have a lot of time left on this fire giant, about a minute 40. Still plenty of waves to give an opportunity to. As fineokay is the one split pushing. You usually see the assassins doing that. But he's looking to pull Benji away. Blink forward by Homie, looking for PandaCat, and he'll force out the Aegis and the ultimate successfully.
Hurriwind with a weird ultimate in no man's land. fineokay taking some damage, forced to defensively pluck. Benji with a taunt onto Snoopy. The wall not going to cut off the escape, but CLG in a position of low health department needs to sustain from the Wisps.
But they have that sustain and that fire giant healing as well. 8K healing so far for Jigz on this Sylvanus. As mid Phoenix is very low. Homie doing his best to finish that one off, but can't do so. Forced away by Ven and Scream. Left Phoenix finally broken by CLG.
PandaCat very low, having to heal up. Middle Phoenix due to fall very quickly. CLG, they finally break the base of eUnited, getting the left and the middle Phoenix. Only one more left, but you gotta get that tier 2 tower before you get the last Phoenix.
All part of the plan. Tier 2 tower should go down easy peasy now for CLG. They have done a good job of opening up the base from eUnited, mid and left side, without any kills. And that is the difference, I think, between high-level Smite and even the high-level ranked games, where no kills, no actual blood shed, but enough space created to get 2 Phoenixes, and done so textbook by CLG.
Taunt. PBM blinks in, but he gets disrupted. There goes the knockup, and Snoopy's eliminated.
PandaCat eats a 1300 through space and time, but fineokay will crush down Venenu. Scream crushing Jigz on the back with a hammer toss off the mark. Jigz is going to be able to heal up pretty nicely. Scream will be hard to track down in this spot. In fact, Hurriwind not even worried about it. Instead, he'll leave fineokay, but could come back and provide some support, and does so. A gets forced onto Scream. So look at Homie's positioning here, still lurking.
Playing with fire as Scream really understands the cooldowns, respects the pluck to the point that he doesn't have to use the beast because he has his Mag Ice Cloak. Got off a little bit more damage, but just not enough to really take out this beefy level 20 Sobek that has so much health and protection. And that's what's helping CLG engage is fineokay. The way he engaged on the left side, he went from the middle, Phoenix, to blink behind Benji just to disrupt his engage.
Right, it wasn't even to attack Venenu or Scream or PandaCat, one of the usual targets that you expect solo laners to dive in late game team fights. He peels away Benji. It allows Homie to initiate onto PandaCat. And that's what I was about to bring up, is that PandaCat has been the primary focus for CLG in every single one of these team fights. And credit to him, he's still second in the player damage charts, and he's been forced back nearly every time.
It's rough for poor little Medusa. eUnited trying to make something happen, but even whether it's PandaCat or even Venenu with his 7th death can't escape the clutches of lurking in the water in that last encounter, despite a great performance where I think it was Snoopy that got just chunked by Venenu's ultimate.
It really did. Worked out beautifully for eUnited, but now they're on the defense once again. Left in mid-side Phoenix due to respawn in about a couple moments, but not too long that eUnited has to buy themselves some time. Waves pushed a little bit, but should be fairly easy for CLG to even clear one minion wave, and clearing one minion wave from this distance will guarantee some pressure onto that Titan.
CLG with one more step required before they go for the final end. They want to make sure that the Titan is at its most vulnerable form, and they feeling confident with how they've been previously engaging some of these Phoenixes. Homiefe gonna wrap around, try to isolate, but he placed it to 2.
He's looking for Scream, but Venenu's not really giving him any help. Scream falls 1v2. Homie makes a big play. Now right side Phoenix should fall fairly easily. eUnited, did Venenu just use his stun? Is that what happened?
I'm not sure what happened. It seemed like Venenu was taking a sip of water and only had one hand on the keyboard there, because I didn't see any abilities come out from him.
He threw the 2, but it wasn't enough to deter Homie. Clearly.
The stun.
Ben lurking forward. Hurriwind very low, but still has his relics. It doesn't matter. No, he does. He survives. It was Ven that got popped. Petrify. Not good enough. Snoopy's Aegis was required. Hurriwind finally falls on that backside thanks to the double Guardians, but they've got to get on the run now, and look at the fire minions coming from the left-hand side. eUnited with their backs against the wall, and CLG primed and ready. CLG will take game number 1 against eUnited, the top dogs in North America.
Doing a great job in game number 1. Definitely took more time, I think, than necessary, ending the game at 44 minutes. I'm still looking back at that, not getting the tier 2 tower to getting the end, but at the end of the day, doesn't matter. Hurriwind still making it happen with a lot of those key crucial ultimates.
Oh yeah, he was great. Hurriwind, top of the player damage charts, really was the difference maker in this one. Homie though, sometimes when these gridlocks happen, you got to have one of your star players step up and make a play, and that's what he does. He takes a 2v1, no fear, and wins it.
Now, to be fair to him, I don't think he saw Venenu behind Scream, but he made it happen. For whatever reason, Venenu was half involved, only using one ability. But I'm looking back to the play that Homie made when he blinked into the right side mid Harpy once he realizes that Scream's Thor hammer was down. That was the key play where Hurriwind followed up with his ultimate. 2 quick picks onto eUnited, open the door for CLG to get that first Fire Giant.
In all of these plays, they all have something in common, and that's that CLG was the aggressor. They were the initiator, and I think this team has historically fallen into lulls where they just wait for the enemy team to do stuff, and they'll respond, they'll counter-engage. That wasn't the case here, and I don't think it's a coincidence that they beat the best team in North America right now as a result. When Homie's playing aggressive, when Hurriwind's playing aggressive, this team ends up making plays, and they take game number 1 over eUnited. Let's toss it over the desk as we get ready for game 2.
Thanks a lot, boyos. Tom and Henry here.
Boyos. Okay.
Don't you ever want to be a cartoon from the 30s?
I am a cartoon from the 30s.
Yeah, say. How about we do this post-game, sir?
Okay, stop.
All right. Well, taking a look at how these teams go, and eUnited seem to have the ball in their court for a moment. And then everything crumbled.
It was actually back and forth. I said Venenu, the Morrigan's going to be an important pick, but to be fair, he was 4-2-2 at about 15 minutes in, so he had a very good impact. Scream, on the other hand, no. 15k player damage and over a 40-minute game, that's not a sign that you want to see from your jungler. Overall, the damage was low, but it's low.
I mean, Scream 15-1, PolarBearMike 14-9.
Yeah, this is all Thor. I mean, Scream generally did do a lot with his walls of setting people up, granted, and the system of kills. But player damage as a whole, you've got to have a little bit more there. I think that was definitely one of the factors is Scream just didn't seem all there. Or Verizial, I should say.
And Thor can be a character that you don't have to bring the damage on. You can fall back to that control-oriented sort of play style. But what happened here was he was controlling the game for no one to take. You have to do the damage at a certain point, and here just wasn't enough control for me to really say yes to.
Beautiful play from CLG, though, in that first game. There was nothing really out there that was crazy from them. They worked really hard as a squad this whole time. This was a cheeky little attempt at a steal and went through nicely, as we saw PandaCat getting himself that. So eUnited did keep it square. I mean, they had themselves, I believe, 2 goal furies at one point in time. It was a 3k difference at 30 minutes in, so this game was anything to play for. But then as the games continued, Verizial didn't do enough, in my opinion, to help out the rest of his team.
Yeah, it's always been kind of problematic there. Hey, listen, we have some folks struggling to get the stream going on. There's some issues and technical difficulties, so we're going to take a brief break. But before we get into the second game, hopefully everybody can jump in and watch it, because it's going to be a doozy. CLG versus United on hold. We'll be right back with the Smite Pro League.
Peach.